Hello, YouTube and Game of Thrones fans. Episode 3 aired this past Sunday, and although it might have felt a little slow at times, this episode was completely eye-opening and has hinted at what's to come for the remainder of the season. So let's recap and see what's going on in the show and where things are heading as we approach the mid-season. So this episode started off with Jon sitting up on the table where Melisandre had performed her resurrection ritual. After his short run-in with death, Jon pretty much sits up in disbelief as he runs his hands across his stab wounds. Sir Davos stares at Jon in complete awe, and Melisandre then comes running in and begins with the questioning. She also has a surprised look on her face as she can't believe her chant actually worked. One thing to note is that she asks Jon what did he see. He says that he didn't see anything, but the dialogue was a little interesting as it seemed like she expected him to say something. It could just be filler dialogue, but it might be relevant down the line. Then she makes her assertion that maybe Stannis wasn't the prince that was promised, but that someone has to be. So this line seems very important, and I'll talk more about it towards the end of the video, but for now, I'm going to move on to the rest of the characters. After Jon's reunion with his friends in the Castle Black courtyard, the scene changes to Sam who's traveling with Gilly and baby Sam to the Citadel. During their trip, Sam mentions to Gilly that he might have to send them to his home while he heads to the Citadel alone. When will he find out the news about Jon, and will it affect his storyline? The next scene follows Bran and the Three-Eyed Raven watching past visions of Ned during Robert's rebellion. I'm actually going to save that portion for the end of this video, as the scene seemingly correlates to Jon's storyline. This was possibly the most important segment of this week's episode, as it has laid the groundwork for the major revelations that are about to take place. So after Bran, we are brought back to Essos to see Daenerys with the widows of the various Khals. It should be a matter of time before Jorah or her dragons come to rescue her. Back in Meereen, Varys is back in action as his little birds have found out who is giving orders to the Sons of the Harpy. How will Tyrion and Varys use this information, and what will their next move be? Also, when will we be seeing the Red Priestess visit them, and what news will she bring? On the other side of the sea, Cersei has given the order to send out Varys' old little birds to various parts of Westeros. She states that she wants them present in Dorne, Highgarden, and in the north so that she could find out if anyone is trying to gain from their family's misfortune. More than likely, these birds will sing songs of her next enemy after she takes care of the High Sparrow. However, for now, her focus will remain on eliminating the High Sparrow, and there is a chance that she might use the Tyrells to help her accomplish that goal, since the High Sparrow still has Queen Marjorie and Sir Loras in his captivity. As the old adage goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Next, we have Arya, who wins back her eyesight after denying her name again, and after a couple beatings from the waif. She will likely resume training, but it appears as if the waif might have made Arya's hit list. Then we have the drama at Winterfell. The Umbers arrived with a gift for Ramsay, and lo and behold, it was the youngest Stark, Rickon. We'll have to wait and see how Ramsay plays his cards with the Stark boy in his custody, but if the fate of Shaggy Dog was any form of foreshadowing, then it doesn't look good for Rickon. It does look like a great reason for Jon Snow to head back to Winterfell, though. Finally, the last scene of the episode features Jon hanging the men responsible for his death. It turns out that Master Aemon's kill the boy speech might have actually had multiple meanings, as Jon did indeed kill Ollie. After Jon let the men hang, he then tells Ed that he has command of Castle Black. The episode closes with Jon walking out of Castle Black, stating that his watch has ended. Now before I talk more about Jon, let's talk about Bran's scene, as it seems to be the most important subplot in this episode. So for the show viewers who don't know about the location of this scene, this is the infamous Tower of Joy. For those who are unfamiliar, the Tower of Joy was where Ned found his dying sister after Robert's rebellion. It is also the place where Ned made an undisclosed promise to his sister, which is suspected to be that Jon Snow is the son of Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen. The scene begins with Ned and his soldiers riding up to the tower and confronting the Targaryen guards at the foot of the tower. The Three-Eyed Raven then points out that one of the soldiers with Ned was Mira's father, Howland Reed, and then Bran recognizes that the head Targaryen soldier was Sir Arthur Dayne from the stories his father told. After a few words, A young Ned who looked like a young Neil Patrick Harris with Ned's hair begins fighting with the Targaryen soldiers. After most of the soldiers are lost on both sides, the final battle comes down to Sir Arthur Dayne and Ned. During the fight, Bran realizes that his father's assertion that Sir Arthur Dayne was the greatest swordsman he ever met was true. His sword fighting on this episode was easily some of the best that we've seen on the show so far, and as Bran begins to doubt his father's ability to win, a wounded Howland Reed stabs Sir Arthur in the back of the neck, which seems to bother Bran a little. After that, Ned begins to climb the steps to the top of the tower after hearing the screams of his sister, and the three-eyed raven ends the vision after Bran tries to follow Ned. Now, there are two major things I want to discuss from this scene outside of the obvious notion that we are finally going to discover the truth about Jon's parents. The first was Bran's reaction to seeing Sir Arthur Dayne killed. While Bran knew the outcome, it seems as if he felt lied to, as the story didn't line up to what actually happened. While this seems to be a very minor detail, I believe this was intentionally placed on the show to touch on a major theme, that the past isn't always told correctly. Throughout the show, we have been told so much about the past through the eyes of various characters, but we really haven't had a reason to doubt it. If the Tower of Joy ends up with Jon being Lyanna's son, who is given to Ned, it creates an atmosphere where the viewers will begin to doubt other things we've learned about other characters and their pasts. The second thing I thought was noteworthy was the Three-Eye Raven's reaction to Bran calling out to his father. In that scene, it seems as if Ned heard Bran call out to him, which caused the Three-Eye Raven to be concerned. When they returned, Bran even commented that Ned heard him, and the Three-Eye Raven just replied with, "Maybe he did, maybe he didn't." After that, he goes on a spiel about how the past is already written, probably trying to deter Bran from believing that he could influence the visions. At the moment, this might not have a clear meaning, but I strongly feel this will be a revisited concept in this season. So how does this all relate to Jon? Well, as I mentioned before in some of my previous videos, Jon's lineage will likely be discovered through this Tower of Joy sequence. However, the question that remains is how will the show incorporate this information into Jon's current path? It looks like Bran is going to find out the truth about Jon's parents, but why does that matter if he has no way of relaying that message to Jon? Maybe the scene where Bran called out to his father is hinting at a potential method that he can communicate with him. In order for them to bring together these two storylines, something significant will have to happen. The other major piece to this puzzle is Melisandre's assertion that Jon may be the prince that was promised. While it seems Jon's resurrection has sparked her curiosity about him possibly being the reincarnation of Azor Ahai, I feel she would need a more definitive piece of evidence to solidify her claim. I mean, let's be honest, Beric Dondarrion was brought back and she didn't seem to bat an eye, so her assertion at the moment feels weak. I feel she's going to need a solid sign that Jon was the warrior she had been seeking all along. As I said in my original Jon Snow video, maybe a burning sword being pulled from the flames might change her mind. But the real question is, how will he get there if that's in fact the route they go? Will Bran's visions of the White Walkers play a role in the Prince That Was Promised prophecy? Or is Jon being burned still on the table? I could go on with some theories, but I think I'll save it for another video as we accumulate more hints to where they are going to take Jon's storyline. Thank you for watching this video, and remember to like it and share it with your friends if you have felt it has given you more insight into this episode. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more Game of Thrones videos as well as other related content. Take care.